shaking, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy, and get better every single day. The conversation we're about to have is going to be amazing. I already know, looking at her bio, getting a feel for who she is, this is going to be an amazing conversation. Janna Johnson is a mindset coach, holistic nutritionist, and author of Unfuck Your Mind. Growing up, Janna never felt seen or good enough. That self-limiting belief carried with her for 37 years. When she was diagnosed with chronic Lyme in 2013, she had to learn how to be her own advocate and wellness warrior. It is now her passion to teach others how to revive from the inside out so they can feel their very best. She learned during her battle with Lyme, hypothyroidism, candida, and leaky gut the power of food as medicine. However, it was when she shifted her mindset to believe she could heal herself 100% that allowed her to do what she had to get her life back. Be a victor and not a victim, and the power of food as medicine. This episode is absolutely applicable to everyone, because here's the deal. We should be able to trust our doctors and not have them tell us that you're not going to be able to walk again. You're always going to be on this medication. Janna said, forget that. I am absolutely going to live my very best life, and I should be able to trust the food that I'm putting into my diet, right? Like, we should be able to go to the store and grab food and be able to feed ourselves properly. That's just not what's happening. And so she, through a process of self-education, research, absolute will, decided that she was going to overcome the challenges that she faced. And all the while, she's going through a horrendous divorce. She is not being treated correctly. And yet this woman is so powerful. She stood in her power and said, enough is enough. I am going to get my life back, regardless of what the doctor said, and I'm going to do it on my own terms. You guys are absolutely going to love it. Literally, the story is inspirational, it's educational, and it's entertaining. And look, she's a tough lady, but she is such a resilient fighter. You guys are going to love it. I can't wait for you to share it out with your friends and family and everyone that you love. Enjoy the show. Janna, welcome to the show. And I guess I got to start right away with Unfuck Your Mind, because obviously you were dealing with a lot of challenges with the body, but the choice you made for your book was Unfuck Your Mind. I'm curious. There's got to be a story behind that one.
Absolutely, JM. And I love that you got right to that. So that's a really great icebreaker. So yeah, the title of my book is very bold, because I wanted something that was eye-catching, right? Like someone's walking by and they see that book on the shelf and it's like, oh, hold up. And I do, it's important to let people know the lime green in the title is for Lyme disease awareness. Originally, this book, when I first talked to my publisher, it was actually going to be about my Lyme disease story. I got really, really sick with Lyme disease in April of 2012. And I didn't know at the time that's what was making me sick. It took a year and a half. And that I always told myself when I got well, I was going to write my story one day to help others who were in that same place I was, give them that story of hope, and share my journey and inspire others and how I did it. And so that's what this book was supposed to be about. And as I went through the book mapping process, there was something else inside of me. And so Lyme disease is very much a part of my book, but honestly, it's mostly about our mindset and shattering our limiting beliefs, the limiting beliefs that are formed in our childhood as we grow up, that form invisible chains that hold us back in life. And I believe too many people live their lives. You're in your car, you're driving forward, trying to get to your destination, but you're looking in the rearview mirror and you can't see where you're going. And when you break those invisible chains by shattering the limiting beliefs, we can step into our true purpose and live the life we're meant to live. And so I share I share my upbringing. I share my Lyme disease story, overcoming it, what it was like to live with an invisible disease. And then I also share the ultimate heartbreak, the earth-shattering heartbreak of a tumultuous divorce with 3 kids and infidelity that was the ultimate adversity that got me to where I am today, and to realize that I had to live my life differently.
Yeah, it's interesting when really bad things happen to people. Often, like Lyme disease, it's not like you wanted it. Nobody's going to say yes, I want this, because it sounds freaking awful. It's not something that you hear a lot of, but when people do have it, it is freaking debilitating. And I know people that are literally, they're on their deathbed with this it's not common anymore. And I'm curious if you trace it back to how you got it to begin with, if it was a tick somewhere with a deer in the Northeast is what I commonly hear about it. But so we'll get to that. But it is interesting. The limiting beliefs, one of my favorite things to discuss, because you confronted so much of this because of this horrible disease is what I'm hearing. And so it's kind of like, thank you, Lyme disease, for helping me discover who I really, really want to show up as in this world. So kind of a big question, but A, did you track back how the heck we got Lyme disease to begin with? B, are we literally thanking it to say, thank you for helping me show up as the amazing person that I truly am today?
Yes to both. So, um, in April of 2012, I woke up one morning and I had a bullseye rash on my right inner thigh. I'm a country girl, and I don't, if something doesn't itch or it doesn't hurt, I don't go to a doctor. I had never heard of Lyme disease. I had no idea that bullseye rash was what it was. And it didn't itch, it didn't hurt, and it slowly faded away over the next few weeks. And then from April to October, I started to develop symptoms that were kind of vague. And at the time, I have 3 kids. My 2 oldest kids now, they were 2 and 4, and I was a busy mom of 2 toddlers, right? So it's really, really easy to chalk it up to that, right? To motherhood. I worked full time. And, I did just have a baby not too long ago. And so at that moment, I just felt it was stress and hormones, because I had anxiety. I had brain fog. I was really tired all the time and fatigued. And, that just wasn't me. It's kind of proud super mom. I could do it all. And then I had a surgery that October 26th of 2012. And it was about a week after that, JM, that my symptoms were no longer mild. And I remember I was at the grocery store. This was almost a month after that surgery, when it got so bad that was when my life turned upside down. And I was at the grocery store. It was like 2 days before Thanksgiving. And this was my local grocery store. I went to it all the time. I knew where everything was, blindfolded. But I walked in the store and I was very disoriented, and I was confused, and I was having a super bad anxiety attack. And I felt like out of my body, and I didn't know where anything was. I couldn't remember anything. And I was absolutely terrified. And I just remember getting home and thinking, okay, I got to get my kids to bed, and I'm going to take a bath. I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I'll feel better. But that didn't happen. And it went downhill from there. Lyme disease, the bacteria infected my brain so bad, the neurological symptoms, they were horrific. Honestly, it was a living hell. And when you said something earlier about, you wouldn't ask for it, right? But the thing is that when we have something like this happen to us, it's always unexpected. And in that moment, the shock sets in, right? But you have to decide if you're going to stay in the victim mindset or a victor mindset. And, I didn't know anything about that until I was so sick with it. And about another year and a half after that, where I almost took my own life because I could barely function. I could barely bathe myself. I couldn't remember my kids' names. I couldn't remember my address or where I lived. And I would go to bed at night and just say, Jesus, like, please don't let me wake up in the morning. I can't do this. My kids deserve better. And JM, that's like the worst place I think a human could be. My symptoms at that point were absolutely as worse, like as horrible as they could be. The brain fog was so intense it caused derealization, and I had horrific panic attacks, severe depression, and it wasn't just Lyme disease. Lyme disease just wreaks havoc on your body. So I had hypothyroidism, and I had so many gut issues. I could barely eat anything. And at that time not in a good marriage. I didn't have a lot of friends of my own, and my family didn't understand. And my husband at the time was not the most sympathetic. And I truly, JM, was alone. And when you have an invisible disease, just to walk around with that, the people that did know me, all they saw when they saw my face was she has Lyme disease. And because people couldn't see my symptoms and I'm just describing them, like to you right now, right? Like I'm telling you how I feel, but I look fine. And so people, they thought I was crazy. And so you just get to a point where when someone asks you, you're just like, I'm fine. I'm good. And you just stuff it all inside. And you add that, mix that in with having two kids and a full-time nanny at that point, not just for the kids, but for me. And those symptoms, that brought me to the brink. And it was actually in that moment where I just said, you know what? God didn't give me these two precious children for it to be like this. There's got to be something else. And I looked in the mirror, and at that time I had some major body dysmorphia issues. So looking in the mirror was not easy. And I didn't recognize myself. That day I got up off my knees and I looked in the mirror and I said, fuck Lyme. You took over the wrong body and it's time to get the hell out. And I was mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at the disease. I was pissed at life. I was mad at everybody who was supposed to love me that wasn't there for me. And I didn't realize it at the time, JM, but there was like a fire lit inside of me. And I decided I was ready to live. I decided I was going to win, not the disease. And so I didn't realize it at the time, but as I got well, I started to look back on that pivotal moment. And I was like, you know, when I chose differently, when I decided to believe I could get well, when everything, all the statistics, the doctors, everything said that's never going to happen, that's what I should have believed. And I did for a long time. But when I said, F that, I choose differently, my actions started to follow that. And I ended up healing myself 100%. Got off thyroid medication I was told I'd always be on, healed my gut. And that led me down the road to becoming a nutritionist and wanting to help others. So, yes, I was one of the few 30% of Lyme disease sufferers that developed the bullseye rash, but I didn't know what it was. And, you know, I believe adversity is meant to come your way. And the two choices are to stay a victim and let it consume you and take over your life, or to overcome it and walk through that fire, let it burn every part of you off that no longer serves you well, and elevate yourself and step into a higher purpose. So that was a very long-winded answer, but I hope I answered it.
No, I think you did. A couple thoughts that absolutely come to mind. So what I'm hearing is obviously the mindset shift where you said enough is enough. I'm not happy in the way I'm able to show up, but I am going to overcome this through
Mm-hmm.
literally sheer willpower. And I'm curious to see what that looked like. If it was a lot of meditation, if it was a lot of journaling, if it was a lot of, I don't know because I haven't read the book yet. And the power of food as medicine, as we mentioned in the intro, which, I mean, gosh, we could spend hours and hours and hours on this subject alone because I don't think often people think of food as medicine, but it truly is. It's not just something that you do, but that's literally fueling your. If we're a Ferrari, that's your fuel. That's your supreme or the best fuel you can give yourself. But often we treat these Ferraris like, I don't know, Chevy Metros, and we put just absolute garbage into
You
it. No
put the
offense to any.
unleaded in instead of the premium,
There you go.
and you
And
don't
any
get your oil
Chevy,
changes on time.
yes,
You're driving on
yeah.
4 flat tires.
Oh man, you good at this analogy, man. I just started. Um, so I'm curious to hear how that went, because the mindset shift, and now, okay, power of food, and then, gosh, we got to get to Revive, because clearly it's a huge part of what you do. But I'm
Mhm.
throwing a lot of questions at you, so let's just start with the mindset and the power of food, because we're not talking woo woo. We're talking like, this is, you healed yourself.
I healed
That's
myself
powerful.
100%. And you know, I took a few chapters in the book, and might have, honestly, I think chapter 6, where I start on the Lyme disease, and it's by far the longest chapter. Um, I went back in editing, and I just kept telling myself, uh, how can I tell people to dig deep and go through the tough stuff? And I felt like I was glazing over it. Right. And that's not me. I am authentic, unfiltered, I'm bold, I'm real, I'm raw and honest, but I respect that from others. And that's who I want to surround myself with as well. And I just felt like I didn't share enough on what it was like to live like that, what it took. And so, answering your question, it was absolutely difficult because I had no proof. There was no certainty I was ever going to get well. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. The doctors were just like, okay, because I did. I tried a few different things when I finally got the diagnosis. Which, by the way, conventional medicine, the standardized testing for Lyme, failed me 2 different times. That was, 11 years ago. Functional medicine was nothing like it is today, and it's come such a long way. And the testing for Lyme disease today is still crap, but it is better, but only if you go to a functional medicine doctor, where unfortunately insurance doesn't pay, which that's a whole nother topic. But when I finally found out I was sick with Lyme disease, it was 8 different strains. I had chronic Lyme. I was severely sick. And to the people who think that, if you have mental symptoms, right, like anxiety, depression, things like that, just take a prescription, take antidepressants. That's absolutely not helpful. That's just a band-aid. There's nothing wrong with your brain, okay? People that suffer from brain fog, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, it is from your gut health. And your gut health is your key to optimal health, to your brain health. And that's my saying. And another one is that when you heal your mind, you free your life. And so every single day I had to fight and choose to power through the most horrific mental symptoms that I felt every single day. It wasn't like I just tried something and like, oh, it's better. Nothing was easy. Nothing was overnight. And the thing that people don't understand with Lyme disease that I like to bring awareness to is that the bacteria form a biofilm. That's when it's considered chronic Lyme. The biofilm is like a bubble, a really thick bubble that forms around the bacteria. And so that's why if you don't take antibiotics when you first get that tick bite, then the biofilm forms and the antibiotics, they can't penetrate it. Okay. So for me, I did a lot of research on this. So I don't recommend anyone just to go out and buy it. I share more about it in my book, but I started to study essential oils and specific ones that kill the bacteria that penetrate the biofilm and kill the bacteria off. But here's the thing: when the biofilm bursts, all those nasty little toxins, they come out with it. When the bacteria die, again, this stuff's just floating around in your body. So your lymphatic system and detoxing is a huge part of it. It's a multi-layered process. and it's day in, day out. You cannot even remotely have 1 second off. There's no cheating in any way. Your diet's a huge part of it. I learned that sugar feeds all diseases, and I went paleo, right? And then I started learning about the keto diet. And the thing with the keto diet is people just think it's just eat a bunch of meat and some healthy fats, and you can have anything as long as it doesn't have carbs. That's what I call fake keto. A true keto diet is full of vegetables and a wide variety of healthy fats, absolutely nothing artificial, no dyes, clean proteins. And it's also the way you eat it and the proportions of it. And I had to learn all of that, teach myself that. And I also had to start doing intermittent fasting, because the thing is that we all have intermittent fasting. It's just the time period. Breakfast is simply meaning breaking your fast. People just think it's built in our brains. You got to eat at 7 a.m. You got to have a hearty breakfast. No, you don't. It's all about giving your body a break. Every single time we eat and put something in our body, your body has to go to work in digesting. But when you give your body a nice break, like 14, 16 hours every day, your body gets to do a deep cleanse and cellular repair. And that was huge in my healing, because I had to heal my gut. My gut lining was a wreck, and had gut dysbiosis, a candida overgrowth, heavy metal toxicity. I had a lot of crap jam that had to come out of my body. And if my mindset faltered at any time, so did all of that. And it was just like dominoes fell. And so every single day, I had to know my why. And my why was to live and to be the best mom I could be for my kids. It was to win and get my life back. And so when I wanted to give up, I had to just focus on that. And I had to ignore all the naysayers, the people that making fun of me. I had comments like, well, you're basically a rabbit. Why don't you just go in the front yard and eat grass? That was someone actually very close to me. And I just thought, you know what? I don't really care what you think or what you say. I'm going to do what I have to do for myself to get well. And I see that with clients I worked with, where it's just like, it's really hard because nobody else eats that way. And I get it, but honestly, it's your life. It's your one life. And you got to do what you got to do to feel your very best. And I stuck to it. When I added in the diet, that was actually the last thing I added. And when I made that change and cut out all sugar, when I say cut out sugar, I mean I cut out sugar. I didn't eat high sugar fruits. Nothing that was going to turn into glucose in my body. Things like bananas, red apples, grapes, those are really high in fructose, super high. No fruit juices. An 8-ounce cup of orange juice is like 29 grams of sugar. You might as well have a Snickers bar. So I didn't have hardly any fruits for like 9 months. And as I did that, and I started to, give my gut back the healthy micro organisms, like cultured foods, things like that, I started to feel better. And that was the turning point in me understanding the gut health and the brain health connection. And so as I started to feel better and what I was doing was working, it just fueled my fire. And I could feel myself getting well. But the absolute most difficult things were the die-offs. The die-offs were way worse than the actual disease was. But it's necessary. You have to have the bacteria die off, and it has to come out of your body. And that's why most people don't get well with Lyme disease, because when they start to have a die off, they assume what they're doing that's actually working is not, and they stop.
Yeah, I'm putting myself in your shoes, and again, I when it comes to fasting, 100%, I'm an advocate. I love doing 3 and 4 day water fasts for myself. That's something that works for me. I do intermittent fast, and I am carnivore at this point. Now, I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, but the show's not about me. One of the things that I will say that I think is so frustrating, putting myself in your shoes. We're supposed to be able to trust doctors and say, you have my best interests at heart. And maybe they did, but so often the bedside manner of, well, you'll never walk again. You'll always do this thyroid medication. I don't know if it's CYA, but it's wrong. I do know that because we've seen far too many people, whether you call it, placebo effect or just mindset shift, that they do things that they're told they can't do. That's one. Number two, and I want people to recognize how much she was battling. The other thing is we're supposed to be able to trust our food products. And it's just not safe today. And I'll be honest. Look, my dad worked for Monsanto for 35 years. What you don't know about me personally, Janna, is that my dad committed suicide just less than 2 years ago.
I'm
Now,
sorry.
I am not saying it's solely on Monsanto. I am not saying that. However, do I think the products, the herbicides, everything that I played on as a kid, all the stuff that it does to people, is it a factor? Damn right it is. And so when I think of you in this position, you're supposed to be able to trust your doctor and they're giving you nothing, no hope. You're supposed to trust the food and it is destroying you. And what you said about sugar, I look, I'll speak from the mountaintops. Sugar is 100% disease. I don't have anything positive to say about sugar, period,
There's
point,
not.
end of story. It's really remarkable. I guess maybe it's because you hit rock bottom and you look over and you see, these are my beautiful babies. I'm going to live for you.
Yep.
But God damn, why do we have to get to this point as a society that people have to hit rock bottom to do all their own research to figure this out? And I want you to talk a little bit more on food because
Absolutely.
that's why I don't eat vegetables anymore, Janna. I literally am like, I don't trust any of that shit. I don't trust organic. I don't trust the other stuff. So you can hopefully educate me on it. But because of my own gut biome, the fact that I've been lactose intolerant since I was 17, I've been gluten intolerant for over 10 years now. I have found that my body works best with just red meat, but I know I'm missing some things too. So that's a lot to unpack, as yours was a lot to unpack, but you hit some really sensitive spots for me because we should be able to trust it and we just can't. At least I'll say for the United States, we are severely, severely harming so many people with
Mm-hmm.
both medicine and
Oh, yeah.
food as medicine. So I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I have a lot. This man, we could talk about this for hours. So, a couple of things I want to hit on all of that, and it's all swirling through my mind right now. Um, I want to go back to when you said, "Why do people have to hit rock bottom?" Um, I wondered that same thing when I was writing the book, and I think I might have figured it out. This is my opinion. I think it is because when something isn't painful enough, when something isn't difficult enough, we have no desire to change. Us humans love comfort. We want to be comfortable. And every single thing today made, it's for comfort. It's for ease, right? And I believe that when you get really uncomfortable, something inside you snaps, right? It's meant to. That's what's trying to happen. And some people, that snap doesn't ever happen because they just look for more ways to be comfortable, right? There's got to be a desire, a willingness, and how else do you get that? Would I be where I am today if I just would have had the horrible, painful divorce, but not Lyme disease? Absolutely not. What about if I just had the Lyme disease experience, but not the painful divorce? Would I be where I am today? Would I have this book? Absolutely not. I know that without a shadow of a doubt. I know that. And I also know that when I was first sick, up until that moment, that pivotal moment, right, where I decided to do it differently and think differently, I was in that victim mindset. And I now understand how people just get stuck. I didn't know what functional medicine was. And I had gone to, I don't know, 10 different doctors in like 14 months, all conventional medicine. And I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, none of them really cared. They kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And, it's like, well, you have hypothyroidism. That's what it is. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a doctor and I might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but I know there's something else going on. At the time, I was 31 years old and I had been so healthy my whole life. So it didn't make sense that my thyroid was what was causing all that. Right. And, um, I think another thing that triggered me was that right before I found functional medicine, I got pregnant and I had a miscarriage because of Lyme disease at 11 weeks. And that was a really painful time for me, JM, because um, I felt like I'd already felt like my body was like a trash can. And so when that miscarriage happened, it's exactly what I felt like. It was just like, I felt like that 10 times more. And that's when I started to find functional medicine, and it resonated with me because it looks for the root cause, not just here's a Band-Aid. I didn't take antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication this entire time. And, feeling those symptoms the way I did was absolutely horrific. And I'm not really sure why I didn't take those. I probably should have. I was just worried that if I did, I was just going to become numb. I was going to become a zombie, and I wasn't going to fight like I ended up doing, right? And I think that that's a part of it because they over medicate, they numb themselves, and so that desire to feel better, it's just not there. And people, talking about the food, right, in our government, in nutrition school, that was so hard to learn about because it just infuriated me that it's on purpose. Our government and FDA and all that stuff, they know that this shit's bad for us. They know the sugar is. They knew the low fat diet was not good. They knew it. Look at the food pyramid. But what happens when you're sick, JM? What do? You go to the doctor. What do? They give you a prescription. It is all about money. It is disgusting. It just, man, it really makes me mad. And especially as a mom of three kids, and my two oldest are now teenagers. And I see it in the friends and the way these kids eat. And I look at the kids when I go to the events and I think about, I'm 42. I was born in 81. And so when I was in high school, kids were much more fit, and there wasn't the obesity issues. I never heard of ADD, or depression and things like that, anxiety, all of these other neurological issues and mental symptoms. So it's not a coincidence that as we're eating worse than we've ever eaten before, more consumed with look, my kids bought candy the other day that where you flush a toilet and something came out and it was candy. I was absolutely disgusted. I did not take them to the store. And I'm thinking this is what, because kids think it's funny, so they pick it up and they buy it. And it's absolutely just sugar and dye. Okay, dye is absolutely known. Studies are there and show dye causes ADD. Like, what are we doing here? Sugar is more addicting than controlled substances. Well, you can go in 7-Eleven and buy that. Um, it is a massive, massive manipulation, in my opinion, because it's all about power. And what gives people power? Money. And it's all about control. That's my personal opinion on that. Um, and I believe that if we could just get our kids to eat healthier and just lower the damn sugar intake, like maybe just half, right? Instead of 100 grams a day, let's at least go for 50, right? And cut out all of the dyes. Teach our kids how to eat healthy. Get rid of the processed food and the bags of chips. We would have kids that were healthier, more motivated, learning better. feeling better. Um, the diseases are just on rise, and so is suicide, depression. We got kids with diabetes. What are we doing? Um, so yeah, so there's that. And you know, I'm very, very passionate about that. And it's important for people to understand that food is either your medicine or your poison. And with every single bite you take, every sip you take, you're either feeding a disease or fighting it. You can think, well, okay, Janna, well, I'm not sick. That's really great. Let's keep it that way though. How do we keep it that way? You have to treat your body like a temple, not a trash can. And there's people like, well, I'm not going to waste my food. Okay, well, what do you want to use as the trash can? The actual wastebasket over there or your body, right? Um, it's mind blowing to me. And it's really, really hard because I've been on both sides of it. And I just wish I could just instill that in people and get them to just see that what they need to feel better is like the easiest. It's so easy, and it's all inside of them. You don't need the medications. You don't need all this crap. You just need to eat healthier. You just need to maybe think differently. It sometimes seems, JM, like the most simplest things in life. People are like, that sounds too easy, so it must not work. That's my experience with that.
Oh, look, it's so funny you say that because specific to business, when I tell people what I do, I'm going to double your income or your revenue for your company, and here's how. They're like, no, 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 that's too simple. There's got to be more to it. No, there's not. It's really basic. Yeah, one thing you did say, people, if you're listening, go look for kids back in the 60s, the 80s, 2000, 2020s. Look at the pictures. There's some of these that have shown like what it looked like for
Hmm.
kids back then and what we look like now. It's grotesque.
Oh,
And
it's
here's the thing.
crazy.
It is crazy. And it's something that is so eye opening. So we have more knowledge. We have more knowledge than we did back then. And yet we are so much unhealthier.
Yep.
Even if our lifespan is longer, quote unquote, our health span, the way people are actually able to live, is not. So you brought that up and I had to get to it. But I don't want to lose out on this. I'm watching the clock. I'm like, geez, it's already 35 minutes. I could talk to you forever.
I got all
Revive.
day.
Well, I appreciate that. I want to make sure my audience does. Um, Revive. Specifically, it is capitalized Revive.
Hmm.
What is that? Because I see it behind you. It's a great looking sign for those that are seeing Janna, and look how healthy she looks, man. This is amazing. But what is Revive? What is that all about?
Oh, it encompasses so much. When you go to create a company and naming it and branding it, um, I didn't just choose it because it sounded good. And I wanted something that was just really simple, like one word. And it's like, what am I trying to do when I my purpose in working with people, right? Um, and I needed something that spoke to both to overall health, nutrition, your mindset, all of it. And Revive to me was encompassed all that because that's exactly what I did to myself. I revived myself, right? And it's revived. It's like I'm alive again. I'm alive again and I'm well and I'm now I'm just like ready to live my life. That's what it means to me to revive. And I did it in bold because it's to me all caps means like look at me, like it's important. And I just feel like that's what people need. I think it's like people are walking through life every day um, like a hamster on a hamster wheel, right? And it's just same thing every single day, like Groundhog's Day. And we get so stuck in our to-do list and our appointments and activities and events and all this stuff that we just sometimes forget to take care of ourselves. And it's just like you're on the airplane, right? And you're you're fixing to take off. And what do they tell you? Like if the masks come down, you have to put the mask on yourself first, right? And I'm thinking, man, as a mom of three, that's hard. I'm going to take care of my kids first, but I can't take care of my kids if I'm not even breathing myself. And so that's what it is to me, is reviving yourself. And sometimes I just think we got to pull ourselves out. We have to disconnect in order to reconnect. Just like our Wi-Fi, like we talked about earlier, right? You got to restart your computer. You got to disconnect sometimes so that you can get a better connection. And people just go through life and they're grabbing whatever they can off the shelves, and they're not taking care of themselves. It's just about getting through the day. Got all my appointments done, got my to-do list, and we're going to make it to the soccer game. Then we're going to go over to our friend's house, and they just consume, and they're just not consuming the right things. I think we need to start saying no to a lot more things and start saying yes to a lot more things for ourselves so we can live a better life.
Boy, I'm going to cut that up. I'm telling you right now, she just literally and I'm going to generalize for a moment. Every female, all of my listeners that are female, please hear what she just said, especially about the airplane analogy. You have to take care of yourself. It's the most unselfish thing you could do by taking care of yourself. It's so freaking selfish when you don't take care of yourself, because you can't show up as the best mom, best employee, best employer, best sister, whatever hat you're wearing. I could talk about that forever. So thank you for saying that. I want to touch on, because in the intro, it mentioned that self-limiting beliefs was a big part of your life through 37 years. And you said 42. Still don't know if I believe it. You look fantastic, but 37
it was about 40
years.
years, about 40 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're holding on to this. And I always say, well, is that true? Why do you believe that? How's that showing up in your life? That's how I coach people to overcome some of their self-limiting beliefs. What ultimately did you figure out in terms of your self-limiting beliefs where you said, I am worthy, I am good enough, I am powerful, I am strong? All the things that I imagine you finally said to yourself that you weren't taught, all these self-limiting beliefs that were inherited or given to you.
Mm-hmm.
What was the turning point for you, Janna? Because I think, if nothing else, all the food stuff we talked about is incredible. The mindset is incredible. But this thing, if we can help more people do that, we can help a lot of people.
Absolutely. This, I love teaching nutrition. That it's everything to me. But my deep burning passion is the mindset, because our mindset is the foundation to every other success in life. You can build the most beautiful home, but if it's on a cracked foundation, it's going to fall. And so our mindset is our foundation in life. My belief is. And to answer your question, I didn't even know what limiting beliefs were or anything. Never even heard of it. I was married for almost 15 years, and I have 3 beautiful kids because of that. And I also would like to say my third kid was my miracle baby, because he came after I got well from Lyme disease. So I just wanted to say that. But anyways, I was married for 15 years, and around year 13, I sensed that there was some infidelity going on, and I didn't have any reason to think that, other than I just have a really strong sixth sense. And that, when you get that feeling, it's like, okay, why am I getting that? There's something going on, right? Like, that's not just happening. Anyways, of course I was told that was all in my head and all that stuff. So 6 months later, I found out, got the proof. And that right there was the ultimate heartbreak. And, JM, as a woman, and I'm sure men do too, you just think, like, what would I do, right, if I caught my spouse, my partner, cheating on me, right? And me, I'm like, I would throw their clothes in the front yard and light them on fire. that's not what I did. I forgave. And it happened a few more times. And I didn't know what narcissists were at this time in my life. And so the heartbreak that I felt was unlike anything else. The pain surpassed anything I ever felt with Lyme disease. And all the other pain I'd ever felt in life, it's like it just came to head, right? And I write about this in the book. And my entire life, to go back a little bit on this, my limiting beliefs were this. I didn't feel like I was good enough, pretty enough, loved enough, smart enough. And I describe in my book why I felt that way. I go back to what is the root of that, right? And whatever limiting beliefs as a parent that we don't shatter, you're just passing on to your kid. And you might not like that, listeners might not, but it's the cold, hard, damn truth. And, my dad was a very critical man and a good dad, not abusive or anything like that, just very critical. You couldn't do anything right. My mom was always on a yo-yo diet because my dad criticized everything she ate. So at a very young age, I started to associate the way you look with if you're accepted or loved or good enough or pretty enough. That led me to eating disorders at beginning at 11 years old, where I weighed myself obsessively. And I've suffered through a few different types of eating disorders because I had that limiting belief. And I never felt good enough. And I never felt love from a man. And so I looked for that all the wrong places. And I never loved myself. I never thought I was pretty enough. And I went through life like that. And I was told I cuss too much and I'm too much and too much of everything, right? But not enough at the same time. And so I'm going through life. I've gone through Lyme disease and some more eating disorders and an abusive marriage when I was 20 that I talk about in the book that was very abusive. And so when this happened, everything just came to a head. And I just realized I am sick and effing tired of being done this way and feeling like I'm not good enough, because when that infidelity happened, it made me feel like I just wasn't good enough once again. But this time the pain was so deep. I felt broken. I felt like my heart was right there on the floor in a million pieces. And I couldn't breathe and I couldn't eat. And I went on a really long drive from Austin, Texas to Oklahoma. Nothing there, no one there. And that's why I went there. I just wanted to drive and be alone. And it was there on that road trip where I literally learned what forgiveness was. And I realized, man, I had a lot of people to forgive and I was holding on to all the pain they ever caused me. And that was the pivotal moment and catalyst for me realizing the limiting beliefs I had. And once again, JM, just like Lyme disease, right, was that like, why do you have to go through so much pain? This infidelity and then the emotional abuse that went on after that, and the tumultuous divorce. Living with a narcissist is not easy. Divorcing one is hell. And the best thing I ever did was to learn how to communicate with one and not communicate. And it was a really, really hard time. And I just realized that I'm living my life trying to fit in everyone else's boxes and in the box I've created for myself, because I want to feel safe. I have a safety box. It's got a ceiling and it's got these walls and it's got a floor, right? But I can't go any further than that because that's the box I've created, right? And I was just sick and effing tired of it. I was so broken. I was so pissed. I was mad because that person, was going to have my kids half the time when I spent every single day with them 100% of the time since they were in my womb. And that was the most heartbreaking thing I've ever had to feel in my life. And when they leave me every other Friday, I feel it again. And I just thought, man, I'm fixing to be 40, and what am I doing? And who am I living my life for? I'm tired of it. I was just effing tired. I was just ready to break out of that safety box and there's no more ceiling and there's no more walls because I'm going to spread my wings and fly. But I have a floor because my floor is my boundaries. And I decided everything, single thing I was scared of is exactly what I should be doing. And I went through this process that I now teach people of healing your mindset, finding the root cause to your limiting beliefs and pulling them up one by one so you can live the life you're meant to live. And it was really, really hard, but I realized I didn't love myself and I attached to my happiness. I'll be happy when I have that person and when I have these friends and I have that title. Okay, you'll be happy when you're kicking the can down the road. You're giving yourself temporary happiness because you're attaching it. And when it's detached, it's gone. I realized I needed to approve of my own self. I needed to accept my own damn self. And I needed to love myself because something I figured out in the book that was a huge revelation for me is, and I didn't know this was inside of me. I was writing my book in this particular part and I said, they say love is blind. And it just hit me. And this is what I said next, or what I wrote next. It is not that love is blind. It is the lack of love for ourselves that makes us blind. When you do not love yourself, you're blind to who those people really are because you're so desperate for love. You got to give it to yourself. You can go through life trying to fill your voids with quicksand. They're never going to fill up. You have to create your own happiness. And when you do, no one can take it from you. You have to approve and accept yourself. You don't need anyone else's. And you have to love yourself. And when you do that, you then attract people that do the same, that feel the same. And you don't accept anything less than. So that was a long-winded, but I hope I answered
Oh,
your
it's
question.
powerful. Look, a couple quick things. Just because I did a video on this, what she said about using that windshield time,
Mm-hmm.
that those of you that commute, instead of bitching about it, spend that time with you.
Yeah.
I am telling you, it is gold because just shut off the radio, shut everything out, and just be with you and your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing she said: she didn't forgive for them, she forgave for herself. And
Amen.
allowing her to forgive for herself is allowing her to truly move forward. It's not the first time it's been said on the show, but it was a really powerful thing that clearly Janna decided to do. I'm going to forgive for me, not for you, not for your infidelities, not for all that, for me, so that
Mm-hmm.
I can show up as the best version of me. Janna, I can't believe how fast this went.
I
Um,
know.
I want people to connect with you because whether it's helping educate them on food or mindset or preferably all of the above, I want people to find their happiness the way you have. Where is the best place for them to connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for that. And that's exactly what I want for people. So I'm super active on Instagram, Revived by Janna. And you can go to my website, revivedbyjanna.com, and you can find everything there. And I also have a podcast, Revive with Janna, which I get to have you on tomorrow. And that's really where I'm the most active. And then, of course, I would love for each and every listener to read my book, mainly just because I know what's inside of it, and I know it'll help you and light a fire inside of you. So, my book, you can find it. You can find it at Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, um, a lot of places. So just type in "Unfuck Your Mind," and for the "you," there's an asterisk. So "Unfuck Your Mind," Janna Johnson. And yeah, I would love to hear from any listener on their thoughts or any questions they have, because helping people is my passion.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. It is, and thank you for coming on. Thank you for showing up as authentically as you did. And I can't
Hmm.
wait to see you tomorrow, as you mentioned. But in all just sincerity, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, JM. I have truly enjoyed this. This was a great conversation.
It was incredible, guys. Look, I didn't know that all of that was going to come through. I read her bio, and I was excited to talk about it, and then this episode just happened. Every single human being that you know right now, whether they have kids or not, they eat food and they need to educate themselves. They have self-limiting beliefs and they can empower themselves. Please, please share this with someone that you love, because this was a powerful story. I am personally moved by it. I'm thankful Janna is now in my life, and I can't wait to read the book. So go check her out. And until next time, remember, your mindset matters. I appreciate you all. We'll talk soon.